needless blindness is the bit that breaks my heart. The thought of having somebody there that is completely blind, that thanks to new technology that we now use, that didn't exist when I qualified as a doctor, that we can now cure them completely, that's heartbreaking. It's not fair. And these are people who are not sick. The other sad thing I discovered was that where there was a surgeon in Africa at the time, the average surgeon could only do 3 operations a week. And so there was a total disconnect between people who'd been educated, working in a hospital where they'd no theatre nurses, they had 3 sets of equipment, they couldn't sterilise, and more to the point, there was no way of patients in rural Africa actually getting transport to get into the hospitals. He couldn't go home and be proud of his results because he had this awful equipment. And that's very harrowing. And more to the point, the second most common cause of blindness in Africa is glaucoma. And these surgeons didn't even have drops. So who would want to be an eye surgeon?
From beginning, Right to Sight's vision was to help Africa help themselves. So from day one, we were sure that our work and project is about Africa, for Africa, help Africans.
I knew instantly when I heard the statistic that the money was in the world. It was never going to be a question of money, but that nobody could write a check at that moment in time. Bill Gates couldn't write a check. The only people in the world who could solve that blindness on the continent of Africa were surgeons, because it took a surgeon to train a surgeon. I immediately saw that if we created a system that offered my colleagues in Africa the same rewards and satisfaction that I had in Ireland, that suddenly we'd solve the problem for millions of people. And I became so obsessed with it that within 2 days, it was like an epiphany. I woke up and I saw all the pieces just jotting together. I just saw it all, exactly how it would all play out over a period of about 5 to 10 years. And that's when I founded Right to Sight, literally to come in and empower the existing surgeons in Africa, offer them everything they needed to stay there, to create a legacy of a wonderful career that would then get bright young Africans leaving school wanting those jobs, the one that I coveted when I was in school. And that's what it's all about.
So Standard Chartered wanted to deliver a project or a program in Cameroon. That was one of the countries that we'd identified that we knew there was a need for comprehensive eye care. And we looked for a partner for that project. So that's where Right to Sight came on the scene for us. You know, that seemed to be a good sort of partnership right from the beginning. Most Seeing is Believing projects run between 3 and 5 years, and the funding is usually in the area of $1 million. So it's quite a significant project that Right to Sight is running on our behalf and with our funding.
Right to Sight was all about developing a model, and the first part of the model was learning how one would work in Africa and how we would work to create a high quality, high volume system. And we then spent 2 years perfecting how we would train surgeons in those environments.
It works in a very beautiful manner where we have a more of mentoring and hand-holding partnership, where we identify partners in need within Africa, sit with them with a very open agenda and a very broad perspective, see what their needs are, where are the gaps, and can Right to Sight bridge in this gap in a participatory manner.
We can actually do an operation where the lens we put into the eye costs less than $2. The blades, the instruments we use, we can import into Africa for less than $14. And then the only cost is staff. So if you do 3 of those a week and you are paying salaries for a week, it's very expensive. But in a Right to Sight system, if you actually do 20 of those operations in a day, then the cost of the surgery is extremely inexpensive.
One of my senior colleagues so far has done over 17,000 cataract surgeries in the last few years, and I just admire watching them perform it in 5 minutes with excellent outcomes. My father-in-law was here yesterday. He was operated on in 8 minutes. He's very happy this morning. And so I would like, as a surgeon, to feel that I have made a difference in a patient's life. when the outcomes are good.
The businessman who's selling his fruit and vegetables, the man who's selling the mobile phones, if we charge him $50 for his operation or his father's operation, and he can afford it, he's spending that on his mobile phone or his car, we can save 30 of those dollars. And with 20 of those dollars, we can do a poor patient for free. And with 10 of those dollars, we can pay better salaries to the staff of the hospital, and we can actually even reinvest in new hospital systems. And that is the magic of delivering a sustainable solution. These are particularly brilliant people. These are people who are poised to lead the solution in Africa. So by Right to Sight coming in behind these existing colleagues, these very, very clever existing surgeons who are, their hearts are in Africa, and by getting people to come in and support their leadership and put hospital systems around them and around their proteges, we will constantly produce a cascade response. We see that for every surgeon we support, every month or two, they will be training more surgeons. That's the solution, because we have dedicated leaders on the ground who want to do this. We know exactly what the barriers to success are going to be. We know what to put into any memorandum, articles, any understanding that we have with a local partner before we engage and invest. And we didn't know that 6 years ago. In other words, Right to Sight has now got a franchisable model, and the only thing that's stopping us from reaching the blind is now going to be money. Now somebody can write the check. Now we are where we weren't 6 years ago. And now we are in a position to scale up and reach millions of people.